We've been in a series called We Need to Talk, and what we've been looking at is the family dynamics. And here's what I know about your family, even though I never met them, is that every single family has issues. Every single family has issues. Let's just once again, let's just take a poll. If you have someone in your family that has issues, will you just raise your hand? If you have some issues, everybody raising their hand, right? Put in the chat. I do. Everybody, every one of us. So every single one of us have issues in our family. But here's the thing that I want us to talk about this weekend, because since we have issues in our family, it means you're going to have issues with someone in your family. You want me to say it again? Because you have issues in your family, it means you're going to have issues with someone in your family. There's going to be someone you're going to bump up to that's going to make you mad, that's going to set you off, that's going to irritate you, and do something that's really going to make you mad. You have anybody like that in your family? I got a lot of people. I could be listing names right now. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at your neighbor, look them right in the eye, pick somebody. I don't care who you pick, preferably somebody maybe in your family. Just look them right in the eye and say, we need to talk. And say, so you got to say it this way. You got to say it with some sense of sass in you. Say it this way. What's your issue? Can you put that in the chat? What's your issue? I want to hear it. DeLanne, what's your issue? What's your issue? Because we all have issues in our family, and because we have issues in our family, it means that I'm going to have issue with people in my family, but we don't really know how to get past these issues. And what I've seen so many times in my own family, and I've seen in other families over and over again, is because we don't know how to address the issue, we just know how to attack the person. And so what ends up happening from generation to generation in our families, that we go from relationship to relationship attacking people, but not knowing how to attack the problems. And that's why there's generational baggage that has ended up in your family that goes way back, that really you don't even know about, but it keeps progressing and it keeps appearing because no one's actually addressed the main issue, because we just want to pretend the issue isn't there. In order to deal with the issue, you're going to have to begin to address it. You're going to have to begin to deal with it. But the problem is no one likes conflict. But here's what you need to know. Good families have good conflict. Conflict is not a bad thing. It's how you handle conflict that can turn bad. And God's word actually wants to give us some insights on how we can handle conflict in a way that doesn't produce scars, but handle conflict in a way that actually produces unity and healing. This is a word from the living God that he wants to get to you. It's found in James chapter 4. We're going to be looking at it. And James actually gives us some insight on how to deal with conflict in a way that is good, that is healthy, where you can begin to address the issue instead of just attacking the person. And James is the one who's writing this. And just a little Bible study in case you didn't know, James is the half brother of Jesus. So he's Jesus' little brother. Now this is why, if you're not a Christian, this is what's pushed me to actually make that decision to be a Christian. And the reason is because if you can convince your little brother that you are God in the flesh and Savior of the world, and he ends up worshiping you, that means something big had to happen, right? I mean, what would happen if your brother showed up and said, hey, I'm God in the flesh, worship me? You'd be like, who do you think you are? And Jesus says, I'm Jesus. And James saw something in the moment. James understood that this was merely not just a human being, but this was God in the flesh. This was Jesus. But imagine the pressure that James had. Imagine the pressure. James, you need to act a little more like Jesus. He's perfect. What's wrong with you, James? Well, I'm not Jesus, right? I got issues. But I always think of James and the pressure that he had and a lot of the things he went through. But yet here's James, and he writes the first epistle, the first letter, and he writes it to a church, and he's just sharing with them how we actually live out the life that Jesus has taught us to live. And so in James 4:1, he deals with this issue of conflict. So I want you to think of the person you have conflict with the most in your family. Whether it's your mother-in-law, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your spouse, your kids, whoever it is. You got it in your head? You got it? Before you start cursing me or putting their name in the chat, here's what James says. He just asks a simple question. He said, what causes fights and quarrels among you? We go, well, that's easy. It's because they're stupid. We know this, right? We know this. I know what causes the fights. I know what causes quarrels. It's my kids. It's my spouse. It's my mother. It's my mother-in-law. It's my nephew. It's my brother. It's my, girlfriend. It's my ex, whoever it is. We all know, and it's their issue. They have issues, and because they have issues, they're causing me to go insane. If they would just do this, if they will stop that, live this way, act this way, we wouldn't have issues. And James says, well, what if the issue isn't really the issue? What if the reason you've never really been able to deal with the issue is you don't know what the issue is in the first place? James asks this simple question, but he's getting at something. What if there's something else happening? Well, what's the real problem? He says, what causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? Now, this is so incredible. This is so deep. We think all the times when there's issues and there's conflict happening, we think automatically we know what the issue is. It's them. And if they would just change, if they would just do things different, if they would just act better, live better, talk better, do what I'm telling them to do, we wouldn't have any issues because my issue is with them and their issues. And if they would just deal with it, it would be okay. But James comes on the scene and he says something phenomenal. He says, no, really what's going on is there's a real battle. And the real battle, what causes the battle to escalate, what causes you to say things at times you wish you wouldn't have said, what causes you to do things at times you wish you wouldn't have done, what causes all that is not because of the battle out here. James actually says there's a battle within you. There's a deep battle within every single one of us. This is part of the baggage we bring into relationships. There's a huge battle that is at war within us. And what he's getting at is that every time there's a conflict, the conflict is fueled in your life, it's fueled in my life, it's fueled in my family, it's fueled in my marriage, it's fueled no matter where you're at. The conflict is fueled by what's in you, not just who is with you. And if you would understand this is what allows us to begin to address this really complex issue and this really emotional issue and this really, I can't believe they did that to me issue. James says, if you really want to begin to address it, you have to understand, I know they've done a lot of stuff and I know they're a jerk and I know they're an idiot and I know you wish you had a better mom or a better dad or a better spouse or I know you wish your kids weren't like that. I know that. I know your sister. But the real battle, the real conflict, isn't just who is with you. There's actually some brokenness, there's some hurt, there's some baggage that's within you. In this battle within you, that's what's raging and that's what causes the fight to escalate. Well, what battle is going on within us? Okay, James, you're so wise. What battle is going on within me? What's happening? What's happening? And here's what he says. You desire, but you don't have, so you kill. Now James says this, and you got to understand, he's writing this letter to church people. He's not writing this to those on death row. He's not writing this to murderers saying, hey, you serial killers, you need to get your act together. He's writing to people like you and me who hopefully we've never physically killed somebody. But you've wanted to. Right? And not only have you wanted to kill people, there's relationships that you have killed because people have hurt you. There's relationships that we've taken the oxygen out of and we've starved and we've killed. Relationships that should be important to us that we don't currently have because we killed the relationship. The reason was because there was a deep desire within us. We had deep desires that were at war within us. And so we wanted these things and so we lashed out, we reached out, we tried to get them. And so we ended up killing. It's hyperbole here. That there's times when you get so mad at someone you love so much that you're willing to say things that will kill the relationship because in the heat of the moment, it just feels like it's right. I remember one time I was taking out the garbage, which I hate in and of itself, and the bag ripped. And so then it kind of fell into the garbage. And my wife looked at me and she said, And I was mad at this point. I was mad because, my desire was I wanted to be easy. So I took the garbage can and I opened up the door and my wife said, you taking the garbage out? I said, oh yeah, I am. I took it and I threw the whole garbage out the door. Then the wind hit it and it ran into my neighbor's yard. And my wife said, feel better? And in the moment I did, right? In the moment it just felt good. But then I realized I got to clean up this mess that I just made. And the thrill of what I just did was quickly gone. You ever do that when you're mad at somebody and you just say it, and as soon as you say it, you're like, oh, I just threw the garbage out. Now it's spread into everybody else's yard, and now I got to clean this mess up. And so James says, be very careful, because he says, you desire and you say things, you act in ways, you do things that actually kill the relationships that you actually really love. And so verse 2, continue on, look what he says. And so you covet. Circle that word covet. The word covet means that you want something, so you pursue it. It's this ache within you. You say, I gotta have that. I gotta get that. I gotta get that. I gotta get that. I have to have that. I want this. And so he says, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and you fight. James takes this amazing thing. He's so wise, I'm telling you. He takes this issue that if you and I were to sit down and I was to ask you, hey, why do you got issues with your brother? Why do you got issues with your ex? When you got issues with your mom, with your dad, why you got issues with your kids? Or kids, why do you got issues with your parents? Why do you have issues? You would tell me all the reasons why you have issues. And James says, but if you really want to get to the heartbeat of it, the reason why you have issues, the reason why you get so mad, the reason why you get so upset, the reason why you get so ticked off is because you want something and they're not giving you what you want. At the end of the day, you could take every single conflict you've possibly had in your life. And James is so wise. I mean, God is so intelligent. He actually has wrote in, he understands the DNA of every conflict you've had in your life. Every single conflict you had in your life. And he says the essence of it is that you want what you can't get. You see, every conflict happens because you don't get what you want. At the end of the day, every conflict, whether you're sitting in Middle Eastern negotiations or you're sitting down to a full-on fight at Thanksgiving meal, it all comes down to the same exact thing. You're not getting what you want. And when you don't get what you want, that battle within you, these desires within you, the war within you comes out of you, and you say things and do things to hurt the people that you love the most. And James says, this is why we get into fights. This is why we get into battles. This is why we get into incredibly difficult situations, because we want certain things. And when we want what we want, anger begins to rise up. And anger is emotion that says, I'm going to get what I want to get. Now, when some of you think of anger, you know, some of you are expressive anger. I mean, you share your anger. You are all powered by anger. I mean, you get angry. You're punching walls. You're writing emails. You're sending off text messages. I mean, you're letting people know you're angry. Now, for other of you, you are so angry, you avoid conflict because you're angry. I mean, you're angry. So you get so angry, but you don't take it out physically on them or verbally on them. No. You take it out mentally on them. Because you think about how worthless they are and how horrible they are. And anytime you can, you're slowly kind of stabbing them. You're slowly gossiping about them, slowly saying things. This passive aggressive kind of nature in your family. And James comes and says, the reason you're either aggressive, either outwardly or inwardly, the reason it comes down to ultimately is you're not getting what you want. And I know some of you are mad at me. You're going, no. No, you need to sit down with my brother. And you need to tell him what he's doing wrong. And you're so mad at me right now because no. You don't know my brother. You don't know my brother. You don't know my brother. But why are you so mad at me right now? You're mad at me right now because I'm not agreeing with you and I'm not giving you what you want. You see, I want what I want, and when I don't get what I want, I get angry. And there's all these desires within every one of us. James gets at, he says, there's something deep and broken. And we have this baggage that we bring into every relationship. And because we have this baggage, that baggage creates these incredible needs in our life. That we have this need, this wants within us that I want to be respected. I want to be loved. I want to belong. I want to be secure. I want these things. And when we don't have that, we put these expectations upon people. These huge expectations, thinking that somehow they need to give us what we want. And when they don't give us what we want, we get really mad. and really angry. And this is what makes family so complicated. And the reason is because when people matter to you, you get even madder at them. Have you ever realized that? The people that really matter to you, those are the ones you're mad at the most. See, I'm not really mad at people that I don't care about. But people that I care about have the capacity and potential to make me really, really mad. Why? Because people who matter to me should listen to what matters to me. I'm trying to help you. The reason I get so mad is because they're supposed to help me get what matters to me, not keep what matters to me. See, they should know better. They should have called me and wished me happy birthday. I don't care if strangers don't do it, but my family should do it because I should matter to them. They shouldn't do that to me because I deserve that respect, but they're not giving me the respect that I deserve. So now I'm mad because they matter to me. And the more someone matters to you, the more madder you're gonna get with them because in your mind you're going, well, they should just know better. They should give me what I want. And I'd be happy. They shouldn't be keeping things from me. They should actually be fulfilling the things that I ultimately want. And this is why some of you are so mad at your mom, so mad at your dad, so mad at your brother, so mad at the people around you. The reason you're so mad is because they're supposed to be helping you get what you want, but they're not helping you. So now you're mad at them because they matter. James says, ultimately, the reason we get into such conflict is because we're not getting what we want. Now, this will save you a lot of heartache. I'm telling you, if this will save you, if you understand this, because what will end up happening is you'll realize that no matter who's with you, what's in you is going to come out of you no matter who's with you. This is why you can say, well, I'm never going to talk to him again. I'm never going to talk to her again. But you're still going to bump into this and still continue to do the same thing and continue to destroy relationships because the reason is you just swap people out and you never dealt with the real issues, and some of the real issues are internally. See, there's a battle outside of you because ultimately there's a battle within you. So if we're going to address the real conflict, we have to address what's in us before we address who's with us. We tracking with that? If I really want to begin, and James is profound, he says, if you really want to begin to address the issue and the conflict that are there, you have to address what's in you before you begin to address who's with you. So how do we begin to address that? How do we begin to address and actually deal with conflict in a way that is healthy, a way that is good? Because good families will have conflict. They'll just do it in a good way. So how can we have conflict in a way that addresses the issue and not create scars? How do we create families that actually don't continue to pass on toxicity, but actually begins to deal with some of the issues so that you can continue to walk in the goodness that God has for you? James gives us insight. The first thing James tells us, in order to do that, I hope you write this down. You have to clarify the cause. James says, before we even deal with the issue, we got to know what the issue is. Do you really know what the issue is? Do you really know what what's causing the hurt and the brokenness that is going on? Because if you want to address the conflict, you have to examine your own desires instead of just examining the behavior of the person that you're with. I love how it says in Proverbs 14:29, it says, people with understanding control their anger. So what's going to give you the ability to control your anger? You're going to have to understand. There's understanding that comes that's going to allow me to address the situation instead of just continue to attack the person. But it says a hot temper shows great foolishness, which means if all I do is in the moment, I just let what I feel come out of me, it's going to destroy people that I love and I want to be with me. See, if you don't learn how to begin to deal with and address what is in you, it's going to continue to come out of you and hurt the people that you ultimately want to be with. And so in order to do that, we have to begin to address, okay, I'm just not going to give full vent to what I feel, but I'm actually going to try to understand what's going on. I'm actually going to try to understand and control this because I have to begin to figure out what in the world is actually happening in my heart and in my mind in order to do that. So how do you do that? There's 3 questions I want you to ask. If you will memorize these 3 questions, I'm promising you, it will save you thousands of dollars in counseling. These 3 questions, if you will ask, every time you get upset, every time you get mad, these 3 questions will give you the clarity you need to begin to address the cause. So here's the first question. Whenever you get really, really mad and you feel that anger begin to rise and you feel your temper begin to get high and you begin to raise the octaves a little bit louder in your voice, when you get there, if you could just pause, remember, understanding, it takes understanding to control your anger. So what do I need to understand? This is the first question. What do I really want? What do I really want? I mean, if I'm gonna get so mad about this, then I need to know what I really want. I mean, if I'm gonna push you out of my life, if I'm gonna let you have a piece of my mind, if I'm gonna do that, at least I need to know what I'm really fighting for. You ever get into a fight and you're in the middle of a fight and you don't even realize what started the fight in the first place? That's because you never asked this question. You ever have things going on? I mean, you ever have things in your family that people still talk about and there's still battles in your family and you're kind of brought in on it and you're kind of like, why is this such a big deal? Because no one has actually asked this question. What do I really want? There's just a divide and it just happened, 2 decades ago, and now your mom is mad at your other mom, and this is bad, and she's mad at her sister, and this created this chaos, and now there's all this family drama. And the reason is because no one has ever asked this question, what do I really want? So next time you get really, really, really mad, just ask that question. What do I really want? What do I really want? That will save you a lot of heartache. Because listen, I can't begin to address the issue until I know what I really want in this issue. So a while back ago, my wife told our kids, hey, you need to clean up the foyer. We have this little foyer area where our kids come in, and as soon as they get out into the door, they take off their shoes, their backpack, their clothes, everything else just kind of get piled up. And so it becomes this huge junk room. So everybody has their little cubbies, and it becomes more and more of a junk room. And one thing that my wife hates, she hates messes. She hates it. And so she kept telling my kids for like a month, hey, when you get home from school, you need to clean it up. When you get home from school, you need to clean up. You need to clean it up. You need to clean it up. So now I come home. She's getting mad at me. Hey, did you see what your kids didn't do? I was like, when did I become a single dad? Right? I mean, it takes 2 to tango, baby. Listen, we did this together. And she's going, well, these kids, and this is what they did. And so then I'm getting angry. I'm getting really, really mad. You're mad. I'm getting mad. So I go down and say, fine, we're going to clean it up. This was not a highlight in my parenting. I go and I take everything out. I just throw it on the floor. Everything. My kids come home, and there's literally a pile. And they're like, what happened? I said, what happened is I did what you should have done, and you didn't do it. And I was so mad. And my kids just looked at me and go, Dad, what are you really mad about? And I didn't know. See, I couldn't articulate it. Now, I could react to it, but I couldn't articulate it. And I was making them, and I was trying to punish them to give me what I wanted, but I didn't even have the capacity in the moment to actually fight for, identify what I really wanted. I wonder how many times you're fighting for things that you've never taken the time to actually articulate. What are you really wanting, and why are you fighting for that? See, why? What do I really want here? So next time you're getting angry, what I really want, I begin to discover what I really wanted in that. One, I wanted my kids to respect me, and I wasn't getting respected. And I wanted them to respect their mother because their mother is worthy of respect. See, those are good things. How I responded was not good, but what I wanted was good in the moment. See, this is not saying that your desires or your wants within you are bad. It's saying the way that you go after those desires are what caused the damage. So next time you feel the anger rise up, just ask this question. Okay, what do I really want? Do you want to be loved? Do you want to belong? Do you want to feel like someone cares? Do you want to feel respected? Do you want to feel safe? You can't fight for it until you articulate it. So what do you really want? See, don't just keep going off on people. Hold on. What do you want? What do you want? You really want? And then once you ask that question, here's the follow-up question. Here's the follow-up that you just ask. Why does this matter so much to me? Why does this matter? Why does this matter to me? See, I've become really good at examining the behavior of the people that I'm fighting with than I do about the desires that are fighting within me. I've become very good at telling you all the things that you've done wrong. I don't do a very good job on articulating what exactly do I want and why this is important to me. But I can't deal with the issue until I begin to discover, why does this really matter to me? So I remember when Shane and I first got married, it was early in the morning, I came out, and we were just trying to get to know each other. We really didn't know her. I mean, I knew her, but I didn't know her. And she had cooked breakfast, and she was sitting down, and she was eating some toast, and I walked out, and I looked, and it was just her eating toast. That's all it was. And so I just kind of, in that moment, I got mad. I mean, like mad. I was getting angry and more angry, and here she was just eating her toast. And I go, is that toast good? She said, oh, it's so delicious. I said, yeah, is it really good? She said, oh, it's so incredible. That's good. And where's this toast at? She said, oh, the bread and the toaster's right there. And I go, you didn't make me any? And she says, no, I thought you could easily just get up and take the bread out and put it in the toaster when you got up. And if you wanted toast, you could make toast. And I said, no, that's not the issue. And so I started getting angry. I mean, really mad. And so she looked at me. And I can't explain it. I'm telling y'all, pray for us. She looked at me. She looked at me and she said, well, fine, have my toast. I said, I don't want your stinking toast. And here's what I did. This is bad. I took her toast and I flung it like a frisbee across the room. It hits the thing and I say, there's your toast. And I walked out of the room. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a pretty good exit right there. That's movie quality. Because now she's going to know what she needs to know, that I'm mad because of the toast. And it was so amazing, so mad. And so later she says, why did you get so mad? Why did you get so mad? And I said, well, because you did this and you made toast and you made all that. And as she did, I began to realize, hold on. That's what she did. That's not the reason I got mad. Why did I get mad? Because I felt like she didn't care for me enough to make toast for me in the morning. Now, was that true? No. But because I felt it, I began to believe it, and because I couldn't articulate it, I couldn't actually share with her what was really going on. I could just express what I was frustrated about. If you could learn to do this, it's going to save you. You see, why does this matter so much to you? It's just toast. I know. But it made me feel like you didn't care for me. It made me feel like I didn't belong. It made me feel like you didn't like me. And so you got to communicate it. And now I do things and I get angry and she just looks at me and says, what do you really want? Why does this matter? And now her favorite expression is, I'm not a mind reader. If you want it, you got to tell me. Don't get angry for things you haven't told me. Now, if you tell me and I don't do it, then you have all right to get angry. But don't get angry if we haven't sat down and talked about it. I wonder how many people who you're angry at, that they have no clue because you've never actually sat down and talked with them what you're really angry about and why it matters to you. And listen, if you do not have the ability to talk about, hey, this is why I'm upset, this is why this matters to me, then you do not have the right to address it. Because all you're going to be doing is attacking the person, never addressing the issue. So this allows us to actually begin to address the issue. So why does this matter? Why does this matter? Why does this matter? And as you do, something will hit you. Either one, you'll go, you know what? This really isn't that big of a deal. But then sometimes you'll go, no, this is a big deal. Now, what I do in my life, here's just wisdom, take about 24 hours. If this is something that's really upsetting you, take 24 hours. Don't send the email, don't talk, don't call, don't text, don't go there yet. Take 24 hours. If in 24 hours it still bothers you, you probably need to address it. Now, some issues I get into, I'm like, well, this isn't a big deal. It was just in the moment, it was a big deal. But this saved me from a lot of fights. Hey, What do I really want? What does it really matter? So then once I do that, here's what you do. Here's the third question. How can we address this together? How can we address this together? Hey, here's what I'm feeling. And here's why this is really important to me. Now, how can we address that together? So I want you to think about whatever you're dealing with, whether it's, hey, you and your brother are fighting because your mother needs some care and you don't know where she needs care at, whether she needs to have in-home care or she needs to go to a nursing home, and you keep battling and you can't even see it and you can't even understand it. If you would just ask these questions, it will save you so much time. It will allow you to begin to actually deal with the things instead of just kind of aggressively going at them. It will actually allow you to sit down and have an incredible conversation. So how can we address this together? 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 This one question, I'm telling you, this just one question. This is what will take the intensity out of the room. This is what will take the anger out of the situation to allow you to begin to actually talk about it. This is why it says in Proverbs 29:11, fools give full vent to their rage. See, fools don't even think about what they're doing. They just let it vent. You know any fools? Yeah, I know a lot of them. But the wise actually bring calm in the end. That God actually says, if you'll actually do this, you can actually bring calm to situations that are causing a lot of division. You can actually bring calm. You can actually bring his power, his goodness, his grace to situations you're dealing with. But it's going to take understanding what the real issue is. So you go, okay, I got the issue. We've addressed it. But James, they're still a jerk. I mean, they're still acting like a moron. What do I do? What do I do? Here's the second thing. You acknowledge your part. Hold on, what about their part? What about their part? I know they got a part. And I'm not excusing what they did. But when you understand what James is getting at, it's going to bring a whole lot of freedom to your life. Because here's what happens. If I don't acknowledge my part, all I do is become hyper-focused on their part. All I do is I talk about all the things that they did wrong and how they should have done different, how they could have acted better, how they could have done things different. I'm just so hyper-focused on their behavior. I'm so focused on it. And so therefore, I'm trying to change them. And I'm trying to change them by forcing them to do what I want them to do. So I'm going to yell. I'm going to scream. I'm going to say, I'm not coming to Thanksgiving dinner. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm not going to talk to you again. Or, hey, I'm going to punish you, whatever it is. So now there's this angst. This is, because they got some issues. And I've become so hyper-focused on them. I'm going to sit down and go, well, James, you don't understand. It's their fault and what they did. And James goes, I know all that. But here's what you have to understand. Whenever you're angry because you feel powerless. What increases your sense of feeling powerless? When you can't control a situation or a person. So when all I do is come hyper-focused on when they need to change, I'm trying to change somebody who's an ignorant jerk anyways. What if they never change? Does that mean I have to be miserable my whole entire life? See, this is what gives you freedom. What gives you freedom is when you realize I don't have to be stuck on blaming them and justifying my life based on them. I can begin to deal with the only part that God has given me authority to deal with, and that is myself. This is where it's liberating. Because if all you do is keep hyper-focused on they need to change, what if they never change? Then you're always going to feel powerless, and in powerlessness, that's when you're going to feel angry. So why are you going to allow them to destroy your life? You don't like them anyways. Why would you allow them to destroy your life? But you see, when I acknowledge, hey, I'm bringing some power back because God, you told me that I can actually begin to deal with me. So that gives me some responsibility. That gives me the opportunity to begin to address myself and addressing myself, that's how it allows me to begin to move on. That's what allows me to move forward. That's what allows me to begin to experience his goodness like I've never experienced before. But when all I do is hyper focus on what they did, I will never find healing. Listen, you will never find healing by blaming your issue or justifying your cause to yourself. I've never met a blamer who's been healed. You can't blame your way into a better relationship. In fact, what I have seen is blaming is what keeps people in generational curses. So stop the blame. What part did you play? You say, well, I don't know what part I played. I was pretty innocent. What? Okay, here's what I do. I always pull up 1 Corinthians 13. And I examine my life. So next time you're going, okay, what did I do wrong? What part do I have to play in this? There's two ways you can do it. One, you can call the person up you're fighting with and just say, hey, tell me all the bad things I've done to make you mad. And they will definitely tell you. Or second, that's just going to make you even madder. Or second, you allow the word of God to begin to expose. So I always go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Just think about your conflict and just ask yourself these questions. So he says, love is patient. Am I being patient right now with a situation? Love is kind. It doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it is not proud. Am I boasting? Am I being proud? Am I being envious in this? It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Am I living this out? Or am I keeping a record of wrong? Am I remembering the things that they did that were wrong, or am I remembering the things that they did that were good? Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. See, when you read that, then you can begin to address the issue. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't patient. I'm sorry. I was keeping a record of wrong. Do you know what happens if you just say those words, I'm sorry? You say, well, 90% of it was their fault. Okay, then own your 10%. Well, 99% of that was their fault. Okay, well, own your 1%. Well, 99.999. Okay, then own your 0.00001%. Because I can own my part, because when I own my part, that allows me to move forward in healing. If you don't do this, you'll continue to blame them and blame them and blame them and blame them, and you'll never find peace. And why would you allow them to destroy your life? If you want peace, if you want goodness, if you want to move on, this is where you have to address it. You have to begin to address your part. And you go, but this is hard. Yeah, this is hard. And here's the pushback. Here's the pushback. Whenever I'm counseling someone, whether we're talking, even in my own life, here's the pushback. Well, if I do that, who's going to take care of me? Because then I'm just going to be a welcome mat. They're just going to walk all over me, walk all over me, walk all over me. If I live this way, then who's going to take care of me? And here's what James says, it's so powerful. He ends this whole thing with this statement. Verse 2, you do not have because you never ask God. So I love it because James goes, hey, I know you want to feel loved. I know you want to feel respected. I know they're lying to you. I know that they're betraying you. I know what they're doing. They're spreading false rumors about that. I know that. And I know that you want truth. But who are you going to with that? See, I can either make them pay, or I can go to God and say, God, I'm struggling with this. God, I'm not feeling respected. I'm not feeling loved. I'm not feeling like I belong. I'm feeling like something's lacking. And God, I need you to give me what I can't do. So instead of taking matters into your own hands, let God take over the situation. God, I need you to help me. James says, God loves you so much that God actually wants to give you what you've been trying to get out of other people. Do you see what he's saying? That God actually cares for you so much. God says, I know you need love, but you're not going to get it from him. I know you need to feel understood, but you're not going to get it from her. I know you need peace, but you're not going to get it from them. I know what you're looking for. You can't get it from them. And you keep trying to squeeze it, manipulate it, fight it, punch it, whatever you want to get out of them what they can't give you, because God says, I'm the only one who can give it. And you've never come to me and said, God, I need this. You see, once I understand, God, this is what I need, I can now go to God and say, God, I need this. God, I need this. When's the last time you took your hurt to God and say, God, I know my brother and my sister, my mom, my cousin, my wife, my boyfriend, whoever. God, I know. Right now I'm struggling because I'm mad. And the reason I'm mad is I'm not getting what I want. And God, here's what I really want. And here's why it's important to me. And God, your word says, because if it's important to me, it's important to you. And so God, would you help heal this? Will you help begin to speak it into me and bring healing to my life? And here's the promise that God makes to you if you do this. Here's his promise. James records it in verse 10. Humble yourself. No, don't fight for yourself. Humble yourself. And those who choose to humble themselves before the Lord, here's his promise to you. He will lift you up. See, here's the real battle. Controlling your anger isn't a willpower issue. Controlling your anger is a trust issue. Do you really trust that you matter to God, and if you matter to God, God's going to take you and take care of you? If you don't believe that, here's what's going to happen. If you don't believe that, you're going to have to fight for you. You're going to have to take care of you. You're going to have to make your way the way, because after all, if it's not your way, it's never going to end up good. And you're going to wear a burden on you, and you're going to wear a baggage on you, and it's going to overwhelm you. But the living God says, give me your baggage. Tell me what you want. And if you humble yourself, God says, I'll take what's broken and I will restore it and I'll redeem it. And I will fight the battle for you. I wish I could go on and on. I would give you story after story after story after story after story of how people have attacked me, have betrayed me, have lied to me, have hurt me. Man, I want to go on social media and I want to tell everybody because, man, I got a platform. But who would that help? It would just cause more division, more anger, more frustration, more hurt. But you see, what I've learned is I can go before God and say, God, I humble myself before you. God, I don't have to fight this battle because you're going to fight it for me. Yeah, do I need to address it? Yeah, I need to address it. But God, there's times when the people I'm addressing, they don't listen. So God, that's why I give it to you. God, you will take care of this because you've taken care of me. See, you don't have to fight this on your own. You can drop the baggage. Humble yourself before the Lord. And he will, not he might, he will lift you up. That's his promise to you. That's what keeps you from attacking the person and constantly trying to deal with the issue. Because here's what you begin to learn. You can attack the person or you can pursue the relationship, but you can't have both. But if you go before God and say, God, I need to address the issue, and I'm going to trust you to deal with what needs to be dealt with. Every single time. Every single time. Just give him room. He will turn it around for your good. He will fight every battle for you. That's why you don't have to pick up the fight, because he'll deal with it. Will you pray with me right now, all of our locations? Just right now, will you start with your own life? God, I know the battle outside of me is happening because there's a battle within me. And so, God, let me begin to address my own heart. Lord, I trust you. I trust you. I can trust you with my life. I can trust you with this conflict and this issue. God, give me wisdom. Give me healing. And Jesus, I know that you can do this because you didn't give me what I deserved when I was your enemy. You came and you pursued me and you died the death for me on the cross so that by giving my sin to you, you took my rebellion, you gave me your love. And so, Lord, if you can do it with me, I know you can turn the hearts of those who are against me. And so, Lord, I trust in you. Every battle is not a question of my self-will or my determination. Every single fight that I enter in is a question of my trust in you. So God, I humble myself before you. I'm humbling myself. God, will you deal with this? And just ask him, God, here's what I want. Ask him, tell him, God, here's what I want. God, I want the respect. I want the love. I want to feel like I belong. I want the truth. I want to be vindicated. God, I believe this, and I'm asking, God, would you do for me what I can't do for myself? I trust you, God. Jesus, I give you my life. If you've never trusted him, just right now, would you say, Jesus, I give you my life? Will you enter into my brokenness and my anger? And will you show me your love like you've never shown before? Jesus, I give you my sin. I trust in your righteousness, and by faith, I put my hope in you. Would you resurrect life within me? And God, would you bring healing to the conflicts that are around me? Lord, I thank you for how you're going to set people free. God, conflict is real, but God, now we're going to deal with it in a way that honors you and brings healing. So thank you, Lord, that you were wise enough, that you gave us a way to deal with the issue without destroying the people that we love. Thank you, Jesus. It's in your name we pray. Amen.